How to heal a Daith piercing. Coming up next on Aftercare Instructions by a Piercer, episode number 4. So stick around. For those who are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So, when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to you a level of expertise that comes with being in the body piercing industry for well over 26 years. So what we're going to talk about today is how to heal out a Daith piercing. Daith piercings, if you don't know already, are located just above the ear canal on that kind of ridge that's right there, that kind of bump, usually done for ring or a curved barbell. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what I would basically go over, kind of the extended version, if you came in and got that piercing. The first thing I'm going to tell you, or going to do, is I'm going to hand you one of these. In this, it's going to have complete step-by-step instructions on how to properly clean the piercing, how to take care of it, how to avoid infection, things you shouldn't do, things you should do, and all the flim-flam. Also on the back, I'm going to write down the jewelry size, what it's made out of, what the style is, and when the piercing was done, and by who it was done. And all my contact information is going to be on there. The one thing you do want to pick up, or you're going to need to buy, and maybe your piercer either provides it or sells it, is Nelmed Sterile Saline Spray. Personally, I like the piercing aftercare version because it comes out in a fine mist, so there's less work involved. However, you can use wound wash. You can find this stuff at Walgreens, Walmart, Target, most department stores, some larger drugstore chains, and various other places, including Amazon, and that's listed, and I have an affiliate link down below. The way you use this stuff, especially if you have the piercing aftercare that comes out in a mist, is you just spray it on the piercing, let it stay in contact for roughly about 5 to 10 minutes, usually about 5 minutes, until it gets to the point where it's kind of melted away, any discharge or anything that's on the piercing, and then just wipe any excess clean or clear with a clean paper towel or a sterile piece of gauze sponge, or if you're getting in the shower, just rinse it under running water. If you're using the wound care, it tends to come out in a very powerful stream. Yeah, you could nail somebody, I think, at 20 paces with that thing. Those, I suggest spraying it out on a clean paper towel or sterile piece of gauze sponge, and then lightly applying it to the area for about 5 to 10 minutes, then wipe clean or rinse the exact same way. You want to do either of those twice daily for at least the next 8 weeks, or until you stop seeing discharge collecting and depositing on the jewelry, and the piercing holes will get that kind of indented or ingrown look to it. If you look at other piercings you possibly have healed on your body, you will notice they're not flat. They kind of tuck inward. They kind of round inward, and that is what we are going for. Whenever in doubt, go see your piercer. Have them take a look at it and make that decision for you as to whether or not it's healed or not. Now let's move on to cross-contamination prevention. Common sense stuff. Wash your hands before you handle it. Try to always handle it by the ends or the ball, whatever is not going to actually come in contact with the piercing itself. The only time you really have any contact with that piercing is when you're cleaning it. The rest of the time, leave it alone. Don't play with it. Don't move it. Do not rotate it. Do not slide it through the piercing. Do not do any of that. All of those things are going to lead to possibly infection, prolonged healing, and other issues. No oral contact or exchange of bodily fluids on or around the piercing. That does include your own saliva. I've never understood why people think it's safe to lick their fingers and clean things. Don't do that. It's disgusting. And your saliva is full of bacteria. Keep your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with the piercing on a regular basis. Also, keep pets away from it. Do not let them sleep in the bed with you. They are just germ magnets. Avoid contact with unclean objects. Number one culprits with this on ear piercings is things like telephones, earbuds, headphones, helmets, hats, wet hair. Make sure that your hair is dry before it comes in contact with the piercing. let's talk a little bit about abuse and trauma to the piercing. Of course, I already talked about overhandling the piercing. Do not do that. The other thing we want to talk about is contact with objects, clothing, etc. Do not sleep on the piercing. Make sure you're sleeping on your other side or your back. The only time you really or one way of getting around it would be getting a travel pillow that's U-shaped and then sleeping with your ear in the center of the pillow. That way it's off the bed. But avoid contact with anything that also causes pressure. Things like helmets, hats, etc., earmuffs, headphones, earbuds, stethoscopes, all of that stuff. If it hurts to use it, don't use it. The other thing is do not use harsh cleaners such as rubbing alcohol, hydrogen peroxide, witch hazel, and etc. All those things will lead to problems and issues that are very difficult to get rid of once they start. That also does include tea tree oil, everybody's favorite run-to product when they have an issue. Aspirin paste, all of that stuff is generally too harsh for a healing wound. What should you do if you think you have contaminated the piercing area? Your only real option would be to clean it with a mild antibacterial liquid soap, something that doesn't contain a lot of moisturizers, fragrances, or other additives. However, if you just have regular hand soap handy, that will work to a degree. Basically, what you want to do is rinse off the area, lather up the soap well, apply it to the area, let it stay in contact for about 30 seconds, and then rinse or wash clean. I'm not suggesting you do this every day. This should only be done if you know you screwed up. Now let's talk a little bit about infection. What should you do, what you shouldn't do, etc. If something comes up and it doesn't seem right to you, get in contact with your piercer immediately or seek professional medical help. Two worst things you can do if you think you have an infection or other problem is put off getting taken care of. It is not going to magically solve itself. It usually is going to take some additional care or some additional knowledge on what is going on. The other thing is removing the jewelry. A lot of people have this misconception that if you remove the jewelry, everything magically goes away, including an infection. The reality is when you remove the jewelry, the first thing that happens is your body seals over those two piercing holes. That can trap the infected tissue and fluids inside your body and require medical attention, including having it lanced and drained. If you leave the jewelry in, it allows a drainage point for the infection. It also usually makes it a little bit more treatable. Now, what about bumps? Common thing with bumps, everybody wants to call them keloids, but they're not. It can be a lot. There's about 4 or 5 different things that it could possibly be if a bump or blister-like sore or what have you starts forming around the jewelry holes. It is best to go see your piercer, have them take a look at it, and try to determine exactly what it is and what is the best course of action. Usually, to be honest with you, it's caused by trauma to the piercing. Things like sleeping on the piercing, overhandling it, catching it on jewelry, clothes, etc., or using a loofah. I don't know how you get a loofah that far inside your ear. I don't know. Anyway, something like that. Basically, the trauma, your body reacts to it. It could also be trauma caused by the jewelry being incorrect or the jewelry being the wrong material or wrong size, or the piercing being done at an angle that your body's unwilling to tolerate. Sometimes it's caused by no fault of anybody. Your body just doesn't care for it. But either way, you should see your piercer to try to figure out what's causing it. When they ask you a bunch of questions, it's not because they're trying to point the finger and say it's your fault. They're trying to figure out exactly why it is happening. Please answer the questions honestly, and you'll get the best results. Now, it's not going to be uncommon to see some signs of infection like discomfort, discolorization, heat, tenderness to the touch, inflammation, and even some slight bleeding off and on anywhere from 3 to 5 days as your body starts to recover from the trauma of the actual piercing and start to accept the jewelry. If the swelling starts to exceed the length of the jewelry, you definitely need to get in contact with your piercer as soon as possible to possibly put a larger piece in. Usually it starts to fade about the third or fourth day, and usually goes back to somewhat normal. Now, it can continue to be tender to the touch throughout the entire healing period. If you punch it, bump it, put your finger against it all the time and it hurts, that's normal. Also, stop touching it because you're probably going to introduce a contaminant that could possibly cause an infection. Leave it alone, isolate it, give it time. It'll eventually get to the point where it's healed. Well, that's my aftercare instructions for Daith piercings. I hope you found it enjoyable, entertaining, and informative, most of all. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it because we like it when you like it. If you'd like to see other videos like this, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. We usually post anywhere from 4 to 5 videos a week, sometimes more. If you like swag, you like t-shirts, and you like those that are related to body art, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. Lots of t-shirts, phone cases, and just about every product you can possibly imagine a logo being on, for the most part. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care of one another because you know what? It's part of your job.